8 years ago, I met Timothy in a way that still feels like a scene from a strange indie film. We were stuck in a tiny roadside diner during the insane flooding back in 2016. Roads were closed, cell towers were down, and all we could do was wait. We ended up playing cards with a group of stranded strangers for hours. I remember he made me laugh more than I thought possible during what should have been a stressful mess. By the time the signal bars came back, we'd swapped Instagram handles. A month later, we were dating. 2 years after that, we were married. Now we have a daughter, Avery, who's 6, and a tiny human tornado. She's all energy, sass, and a deep obsession with anything she can dance to. A few months ago, she came home from school talking nonstop about her friend Olivia who'd started ballet classes. Real ones, with real ballet shoes. Avery was mesmerized, asking over and over if she could try it too. Honestly, it felt like the perfect fit, finally a way to channel all her energy into something fun. But when I brought it up to Timothy that night, his reaction wasn't what I expected. He didn't even look away from his phone, just gave this cold, sarcastic snort and said, "Yeah, because we can afford luxuries like that." It stung, especially since we had already agreed that I would cut back to part-time after Avery was born to be more present for her. We weren't rich, but we were stable. House paid off, cars paid off, no big trips, sure, but we weren't drowning, right? But then he pulled up our bank app and showed me our tight monthly leftover. The numbers didn't sit right with me, but he'd always handled our finances, so I stayed quiet. And like a fool, I agreed to find a second job. I landed an evening shift at a diner near our home. My days were spent at my regular job, my nights running orders and refilling coffees. I'd come home aching, reeking of fryer grease, barely able to stay awake. When I told Timothy I was exhausted, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "You don't get to be tired. You barely contribute." That line, it carved itself into my bones. But I swallowed it. I told myself it was worth it, for Avery, for her ballet dreams. Except, months went by, and she still wasn't enrolled. Every time I brought it up, Timothy had some excuse. Studio was full. Next session would be better. We needed to save a little more. Meanwhile, I started noticing strange little signs. Avery would come home with new toys I hadn't bought, mention trips to the zoo or the movies with Daddy. Once, she asked if Lisa could come to her birthday. Who the hell was Lisa? When I asked Timothy, he casually said she was a coworker going through a divorce. "She's lonely," he said. "Good with kids. Harmless." I wanted to believe him. But then Avery started calling me Mira instead of Mommy. When I asked why, she said, "Because Lisa calls you Mira. I thought that was your name." That was the moment the walls started to crack. Something inside me shifted after Avery called me Mira. Not just hurt, there was confusion too. And suspicion. I started watching more closely. Timothy's work dinners always seemed to fall exactly when I had a night off. Avery casually mentioned staying over at Lisa's house when I had overnight shifts. I'd find credit card charges for restaurants and movie theaters on nights when Timothy swore he'd been working late. He had new clothes, a new smartwatch, and yet, somehow, we still couldn't afford $60 a month for dance classes. One night, I came home early from the diner. Business was slow, so they cut me loose. I walked into an empty house. Timothy's car was gone. No note, no reply to my texts until much later when he said, "Getting ice cream with Avery. Be home soon." But when they returned an hour later, Avery was dressed in a brand new outfit I'd never seen before. She babbled about the amazing cartoon movie they'd seen. Not ice cream, a movie. And from the way she described it, Lisa had gone too. That night, after Avery fell asleep, I confronted Timothy. He didn't even flinch, just gave me that cold, empty stare and said, "Maybe if you were more fun, she'd still call you Mommy." I should have screamed, should have broken every dish in that kitchen, but instead, I walked away, because sometimes silence is scarier than rage. From that point on, I became a quiet observer. I started documenting everything, matching receipts to excuses, watching the way Timothy avoided eye contact, watching Avery drift away from me bit by bit. Then one evening, while helping her clean her room, I found them. A stack of printed photos hidden in the back of her drawer. Avery, Timothy, and a woman I'd never seen, Lisa. I assumed at an amusement park, a Christmas party, a water park. In one photo, Avery wore a real ballet tutu, a full outfit, hair in a bun, smiling like she was on top of the world. The date on the back? Over a year ago. He told me we couldn't afford dance, then forced me to work 2 jobs, all while taking our daughter to classes with another woman. I realized then that I was no longer a mother in my own home. I was the help, the extra shift, the one who covered the nights so Lisa could play Mommy. By now, I was done accepting blind answers, done letting Timothy be the gatekeeper of our finances. He had set up our online banking years ago, and I realized I didn't even know the password anymore. The one I thought we shared didn't work. So, instead of asking him and tipping him off, I went straight to the bank. I told the teller I was a joint account holder, and when I showed my ID, She handed over the statements without question. What I saw made my blood run cold. For 18 months, Timothy had been transferring hundreds, sometimes thousands, into another account I'd never heard of. $300 here, $500 there, sometimes more, like clockwork. Over $20,000 in a year. While I stood behind a greasy diner counter, counting change for tips and lying to our daughter about ballet shoes. It didn't stop there. The statements showed restaurant tabs bigger than any family meal we'd ever had, hotel bookings in nearby cities, a $1,000 jewelry purchase last Christmas, while my gift had been a $20 scarf from Target. I went home, shaking, and for the first time in our marriage, I searched his desk drawers. There it was. A credit card statement for 2 plane tickets to Florida. The names? Timothy and Lisa Harrington. And then, a property tax form. A condo. Across town. Owned solely by him. A place I never knew existed. A place Avery had probably been calling Lisa's house. They hadn't just stolen moments from me. They built a life. Behind my back. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the porch, watching the stars fade into morning, feeling like I was living in someone else's life, or worse, watching mine get hijacked in real time. When I picked Avery up from school the next day, her face lit up seeing me instead of Timothy. That moment made everything crystal clear. I had been absent, distracted, replaced, and it wasn't her fault. It was mine for letting it happen. No more. That night, I rearranged my schedule. I called the diner and cut back to early morning shifts before Avery woke up. No more missing bedtime stories. No more missing her dance. No more handing over my daughter's childhood to a stranger. Timothy noticed immediately. When I told him, he looked like a deer in headlights. "Wait, are you quitting the second job?" he asked. I smiled and said, "No, just realigning things. I want more time with Avery." He didn't like that answer, but he didn't argue. Not with that fake concern glued to his face. The next day, I took Avery for ice cream. Just us. She was hesitant with me at first, like she didn't know how to talk to me. That alone shattered me. But I asked her again, softly, "Do you still want to take dance classes?" The way her eyes lit up told me everything. I drove straight to the studio Olivia attended and signed her up. 3 months, paid in full, with my money, my tips. When I told Avery, she squealed so loud people turned in the parking lot. She jumped up and down, screaming, "When can I tell Lisa?" I kept my voice neutral. "This is our thing," I said. "You and me. Lisa doesn't need to know everything." That weekend, we went shopping for her leotard and real ballet slippers, the ones she had dreamed of. She spun in front of the mirror in her new outfit like the world had come back into color. When we got home, Timothy saw the bag. "Where'd the money come from?" he asked, trying to sound casual. I said, "I've been saving, for something special." He didn't push, but the look in his eyes? He knew something was changing, something he couldn't control anymore. Over the next few weeks, I gathered every scrap of evidence I could find. I found Lisa's private Instagram, her LinkedIn, confirmed she worked with Timothy, found the official documents for the condo he bought in secret. The timeline matched up perfectly with when he started pushing me to pick up extra shifts. Every little piece, every receipt, transfer, ticket, hotel charge, told the story I hadn't been able to see for so long. And I began to build a folder. Not just for me. For war. My mom agreed to help. Quietly, I gave her copies of everything, just in case. I didn't tell her the full story yet. I didn't want to worry her until I was ready, but I told her enough. Then, one morning over cereal, Avery asked me the question that finally shattered my heart. "Is Lisa going to be my new mommy?" I froze. I asked her what made her think that. She shrugged and said, "Because Daddy says they're special friends, and when I sleep at her house, she sleeps in Daddy's room." I couldn't breathe. She had a toothbrush there. Unicorn-themed, pink. There was a room just for her, with all the toys that didn't fit in our house. They weren't just visiting. They lived there. Together. Behind my back. When Timothy's mom texted me about their upcoming anniversary party and said how excited they were to meet Timothy's friend Lisa, I knew. This was it. The confrontation. The exposure. The end. I told her I'd be there, smiled in my text, said I'd love to finally meet Lisa. Then I called my lawyer. She warned me, "It's risky. It's public. It might backfire." But it felt right. It had to happen. In the days before the party, Timothy started acting strange, more affectionate, more helpful, bringing home flowers, offering to cook. He wasn't being sweet, he was trying to hide his panic. He even told me Lisa wouldn't be attending the party after all, family emergency, he claimed. I smiled and nodded. But I knew she'd come. And if she didn't? That folder I built would speak louder than either of them ever could. The day of the party, my mom and I arrived with Avery right on time. Timothy was outside, pacing the driveway like he expected a bomb to drop at any second. When I stepped out of the car, his face paled. He rushed over and whispered, "We need to talk, alone." I smiled. Let's say hi to your parents first. Inside, the house looked like nothing had changed. Warm, cozy, filled with people celebrating 40 years of love. His mom greeted Avery with a hug, complimented her dress, then turned to me and said she was glad I made it. Apparently, Timothy had told her I might not come because of work. That little detail, him already setting up an alibi for my absence, was the final straw. I waited until people sat down for lunch. Then I walked over to his mom and handed her the folder. I think you should look at this. It's about your family. She opened it. The color drained from her face with each page she turned. Bank transfers. Photos of Timothy with Lisa and Avery. The condo papers. All laid out in painful, irrefutable order. Timothy lunged for it, but his dad stepped in and took the folder from her hands. He didn't say a word, just read. Slowly, page by page. When Timothy tried to speak, some excuse about misunderstandings, old photos, his father just looked at him and said, "Is this true?" He stammered, tried to blame rough patches in our marriage, but nobody was buying it. Then the doorbell rang. Lisa. She walked in, holding a gift bag and smiling like she belonged. Timothy nearly bolted. He rushed to her side, whispering frantically, but it was too late. His sister walked right up to Lisa and asked, "Did you know he was married?" Lisa blinked, then nodded. "He told me they were separated," she said, "staying together for their daughter until things settled." That's when Timothy's sister pulled out a photo from the folder, a Christmas photo of the three of us, just a few months ago. Lisa's expression collapsed. She left in a hurry, Timothy trailing after her like a desperate ghost. Back inside, his dad quietly asked me, "Is all of this accurate?" I nodded, every word. He just said, "I'm sorry," and walked away. His mom looked at me like she wanted to say something, maybe defend him, maybe apologize, but I told her gently, "I need to take Avery home." She nodded, quick hug, uncertain smile, and we left. That night, Timothy called me 12 times. I didn't answer. The next day, I filed for divorce. Temporary custody, financial records submitted. The whole process began. He moved out a few days later, took his clothes, some stuff from the garage. I didn't ask where he went, but I knew. Avery was confused at first. She kept asking why Daddy wasn't coming home. I tried to keep it simple, "We're living apart now, but we both love you very much." Some days she cried, some nights, she asked about Lisa. And each time, I held her tighter. I scaled back my diner shifts to just a few mornings. The money's tight, but manageable, and I'll take tight money over missing bedtime any day. Avery's still in dance. She shines there. That sparkle, the one Lisa almost stole, is finally back. Timothy showed up twice at the diner. The first time, my manager made him leave. The second time, he waited outside after my shift. "I made a mistake," he said. "I want to fix it." I looked at him like a stranger. "You didn't just make a mistake. You built a second life, and left me to clean up the first." Then I walked away. His texts now are quiet, pitiful. "I miss us. I miss her, but I don't reply. I have a daughter who calls me mommy again. And for the first time in years, I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. It's not perfect, but it's mine."